Now, I will admit, I've no idea when we plan to release Alpha 5 because I just started the 4th semester at my university, and so far it's been incredibly difficult and it's taken almost all of my free time, so... That was a load of bollocks. Hi everyone, Alpha 5 is finally finished. It took half a year, but it's done now, and the changelog is massive. Let's go through all the cool new stuff and talk about why it took such a long time to get it done. First of all, this update features a brand new hub level in World 1, the town. You can now return to the town at any time and have a chat with the inhabitants. Many of them have unique dialogue depending on the character you're playing as. And in total, there's around 40 pages of dialogue, which was written by my friend Rico. You can also find the other 3 Vibrants vibing in the town and swap to them by interacting with them. There's a few Easter eggs hidden around the town, so make sure you keep an eye out. If we feel it's necessary, we'll come back and add more features to the town in the future, but for now we want to go back to focusing on the levels. Speaking of which, this update features a new hub level in World 2, which connects it to World 3. Just like the town, this level also features some sick lore if you're into that. And just like the town, it's optional and can be skipped if you don't really care. Please care, it took a long time to make. This level features a rocket that shoots you into space. You then of course land on the moon, which is inhabited by Maestro and his minions, and it features his secret base of operations. This is World 3, which comes with a host of new levels, enemies and mechanics, the main one of course being anti-gravity. This update features the first 2 levels of World 3, and we're already working on the next levels. Now let's take a closer look at the enemies, starting with the Maestro. This cheeky little mouse is a complete bugger who throws cheese at you, runs away and refuses to elaborate. He's really annoying and I hate him, so let's move on. The Rockly here is a variant of the Leafly found in World 1. It cannot be killed, so when you attack it, it just crumbles to pieces, just like my sanity. They also glide using sick Violastro themed parachutes instead of leaves. Finally, the biggest enemy in this update is the Conductor. In fact, it's so big it probably classifies as morbidly obese. This big bag of health issues is actually a boss, and it features more sprites and animations than the World 2 boss did. It took over a month to just draw all the sprites, after which it had to be programmed, so a big chunk of development time was spent making this boss. I'm excited to hear what you guys think about it though. Right, now let's move on to all the miscellaneous tweaks, updates and changes, of which there are a lot. Starting with the title screen, you'll notice the splash animation has been given a visual overhaul with a more dynamic camera and much more polished visuals on the logo itself. Going into the file select screen, you'll also notice the files now feature some crisp icons and a death counter. Inside the world map, you'll notice that some of the level entrances are all gold and sparkly. This happens when you've completed the level 100%, which means getting all the challenge coins and the S+ rank. The character abilities also feature some important changes. Cardinal's double jump now creates a trail when you use it. Pistachio's glide has been given a small vertical boost when first used. Her vine stab can now also be used on the ground to pogo and thus maintain momentum. This will be good for speedrunning. And finally, Asura's homing attack has been balanced a bit, as it can now miss the target if it moves away from where it was when you first used the attack. This preserves momentum, and when you miss the target it can result in you flinging forward, a maneuver known as the yeet. World 2 has also received some upgrades. The world map now features 2 distinct music tracks that change dynamically based on which part of the world map you're currently in. In addition, when you first enter World 2, you get a nice little cutscene showing the Vibrants camping upon first entering Sparklestone Shores. The UI in the world map has also received some upgrades. First of all, the icons and the HUD elements look a lot crisper now. And also, following player feedback, I made the message box that appears when you don't have all the challenge coin in a world more informative. People assumed the old box was referring to your total coin count, when in reality it was referring to the coins you've collected in the given world. Hopefully this change clears up that confusion. On the topic of UI, the transition system has been completely restructured and optimized, and while doing so, I also re-implemented the loading animation that plays in the bottom right of the screen. This is an old feature that I had to scrap due to technical reasons, meaning me being dumb, but I found a way to make it work again. You'll also notice the animation when entering levels has been given a slight overhaul to make it more cartoony and flashier. And this animation can now be skipped entirely when restarting levels by going into the options menu and ticking this box here. This was a feature request made by a group of speedrunners who got tired of seeing the same old animation over and over again. If you have any feature requests or suggestions of your own, go ahead and join the Discord server via the link in the description below and put them into the feedback and suggestions channel. Now let's talk about some technical stuff. Believe it or not, creating a sizable game is quite the technical challenge. Ever since this project first started, I've used the same old audio system which I originally got from a Brackeys tutorial back when I barely understood what a Unity was. I've made some modifications of my own along the way though, but either way the core implementation has a major flaw. Since it loads every single audio file when the game runs, the game will eat more memory as you add more sounds. And not only that, but it takes longer to find a sound effect to play the more you add, which makes the game run slower. So, I got rid of all 400 plus sound effect instances in the game and replaced them all with my own system, one at a time, manually. This was insanely boring and tedious, and it took weeks to do, but now the game no longer gets slower and more memory consuming when I add new audio. Worth it, I think. Also, do you see this? This super ugly state machine? This was the first animation work I ever did on the game from like 2018, and it's just gotten worse and more unmanageable over time. Just look at this cobweb. Let's also throw that out the window completely. Now look at this, all cleaned up and grouped into sections. I now handle the animations myself with my own custom code, rather than relying on conditional transitions between states like before. This was another major undertaking since I essentially had to replace every single player animation and create my own system on top of that. But hey, it has already proven to be worth it, as it was easier to create the cutscenes for this update. It also makes it way easier to troubleshoot animation bugs since I now have full control of it. Okay, those were the major technical changes for this update. There's many more though, so check out the changelog if you're interested in the specifics. I felt like this was an important thing to talk about, as this game was something I started working on before I knew anything about C#. So there are obviously going to be some hiccups and old systems that need to be remade along the way. This takes time, but it's necessary to address these issues as soon as possible, or you risk making it much worse as development progresses, and you start relying more and more on bad old code. By now you hopefully understand why this update took so long. Also, I want to emphasize that this is a hobby project and we all have jobs and studies to attend as well, which only makes it more difficult and unpredictable to develop this game. Regardless, we would like to thank you for your continued patience and understanding, and we hope this update lives up to your expectations. I want to give a special thank you to the testers. They've been super helpful and patient with me in testing the entire game multiple times every time I reworked old systems. I wouldn't have been able to do all of this without their kind contributions. Alright, so that about does it for me for this update. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more game development. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.